Sadie.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. As a UK citizen and as a taxpayer, I would like to ask a simple question to the UK government. As a person who is also from the Ogadenya region, if there is no international media allowed into that region, and if there's no NGOs allowed into that region, and to report from the actual what's happening in that region, how can the UK government be so sure that the 300 million pounds it spends on aid to the Ethiopian government, that it reaches the rightful people, that it's used for its purpose? Every year that we see that the people in need increase, every year we can see that at the moment the people you've given us, it shows that in 2016 there will be more people in hunger who will need more aid. Why does the money that the UK government gives does not make any difference or change? And how can they know that it is used for its purpose?
Thank you. Would anyone like to answer that question?
Well, there will be various reports that the government makes that will say where the money is spent. Well, there's no doubt that in Ethiopia, as in every other part of the world where aid is being spent, there will be mildly leakage. Whether it's corrupt or whether it's just badly organised or whether it's deliberate interference, there will be issues where money will not be well spent. And that is just the inevitable reality of the world of aid. It doesn't make it right, but that's what happens.
But the fact that there's no international media allowed into that region, and the fact that there are no NGOs allowed into that region, doesn't that make it obvious, and isn't that evidence of human rights violation in that region, in the Ogadenya region?
Yeah, almost certainly. Yeah. And I'm very apologist for this government. I'm anything but that. I detest this government with vengeance. But my own government wasn't much better either. And again, it goes back to what I said before. They are looking at the overall global position and thinking it's probably better to put aid into Ethiopia to try and have an ally in that part of the world as a buttress against other people who might not be friends of the West and friends of the British government. Now, that might be a harsh thing to say, but that might be just the political reality that the government and the Foreign Office are taking as the best position they can come to. And it isn't fair, but we don't live in a fair world. And all we can do is keep campaigning and get information from people like yourselves and try to raise this and get the government to do the right thing. That's clearly what we intend to do from this meeting tonight.
As a taxpayer citizen whose family and relatives is back home,
Yeah.
and the money I pay for taxes is used to torture my families, what advice would you give me to
Where do you live?
Yeah,
Where do you live in this country? Who's your MP?
mine is I live in Brentford.
In Wesley?
In Brentford, near
Rose Cadbury is your local
Yes.
MP, I suppose.
Yeah,
Go and meet her and ask her to write a question and then
What Mushtaq said before, the more people who say they want MPs, the better it will be. They'll be coming in here asking the questions you want to ask. I can ask them. We spoke earlier on about the guy who's from Islam. Now, I know that these MPs have done things, but the more people who raise the issue, the better it will be. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But I mean, if it's one person doing one thing, this is probably 2 or 3 years since we last met. I was early this year. We we can do so much in this group, but there's also an Ethiopia group which is made up of MPs, which names people circulate, and but we need to be getting them and saying, look, this is the reality as we see it on the ground, not what we're being told. What are you going to do about it? We can do what we can, but as Mushtaq said earlier, everybody in this room has access to their own MP. And they should be, go and pressurise them. They'll want to be nice to you, don't want to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
starvation going on for the last maybe 20 years, I can say. We call it even in our language, ura. If I translate it to English, break dinner, breakfast and dinner only. There are people which are working in army, but could be able even to eat once in a day. If that is not starvation or hunger, what would you call it? It was happening just before this high-flap starvation, which is about, they call it 8 million, 50 million. But most of the people are hungry. That is, the cause of that is the failure of the government. Though so much money is being given in aid, the living standard of the people is always down. And the failure of the British government or those governments, Western governments which are giving aid to that government is, they are not following it up. They are only seeing that simple thing, saying that, oh, it is our framework, that government friendly in protecting terrorists. But once people start getting hungry and starving, where do they think they are going? Those people are going.
Recently there was a fraud, and the government denied, we are self-sufficient, and so on. Now after 5 months, after probably people have died, most of the country have died, now they acknowledge. Therefore, people are discriminated against for their views. That is how this government stays in power. That is part of the other dimension of human rights violation.
Thanks a lot. In relation to human rights in Ethiopia, few names have been raised, but it's more than that. There are the Ogaden jail, called the number 1 in the Jiga, is accommodated 3,000 prisoners. The rape, the torture, the killing in that jail is massive, and there is no record for that. The second jail in Ogaden, 2, is in Gode also. 1,500 prisoners are in that one, and nobody knows who is in, who died. A lot of parents are standing outside to see their loved ones who died a year ago, 6 months ago. International community are not allowed to visit. The international community who aided Ethiopia because they are fighting against terrorists. The regime itself are terrorists. How will you fight against terrorists when you are terrorizing your people? How will you fight? The regime existing in Addis Ababa are terrorizing their people. How will you expect to fight against a terrorist outsider? I think the human rights violation, the torture, everything is massive in Ethiopia, and we cannot solve this issue in this room. But as you said, we have to, the international community in general has to stand up and say Ethiopia, for example, the only means the Western are aiding Ethiopia, the current regime, is that because of what we learned from Saddam Hussein when we overthrow from Iran, that we couldn't get what we wanted. So we are saying that if we throw the current regime of Ethiopia, then who will come? Who will be next? Someone we don't know, worse. But we are saying that let's keep the one we know in power. Who is terrorizing these people? I think we have to do more, understand that the international community, the Western civilized society, knows better about what's happening in Ethiopia, especially in Ogaden. Nobody can go. There's no way. Nobody will go there. Journalists, politicians, international community, NGO, no go area, guys. So we have to, I think, do more, make contact to our MPs, and press our government to do more, especially the European Union, who gives more aid to Ethiopia, should stop the aid first of all, unless they get what they can accept in terms of human rights. But to say that if we stop this money, the Ethiopian population will die or starve, that means you are killing this authority in Addis Ababa. The money you give them, they are using as a weapon. They are killing their people.
Thank you. With the comment behind you, and then I think what would be a good idea is to maybe just share what actual things we can do. We all agree there are endless human rights violations, atrocities happening in the country, but we do need to start thinking about combined actions and a way forward. So I'll take a comment from...
Thank you very much. My question is for Amnesty International. According to international law, the country who they expel the NGOs, that's a criminal, war crime. It happened today in Sudan, Darfur, what the Sudanese government to expel the aid and NGOs around the world. United Nations been emergency meeting, and they're saying the Sudanese government are making the war crime. In Ethiopia, the Ogadenya area been expelled all NGOs, no ICRC, no MSF, not even one NGOs for United Nations. Not allowed to journalists, and still that country they support United Kingdom, United States, and United Nations. My question is why? What's the difference Darfur and Ogadenya? Thank you.
I'm not sure. Amnesty International is very public. It only goes into a country with permission. The Ethiopian government doesn't give us permission to go to Ethiopia. We don't go. I can't speak for the other countries, but maybe I'm not sure. I think other organisations can sometimes go in surreptitiously, but Amnesty is very open. We only go in openly.
I can't alone do it. Amnesty International can't do it. The lawyers who are fighting the case of this political prisoner can't do it. They can put them as a political prisoner of conscience. I remember it 40 years ago when Ziaul was sitting in Pakistan. What was happening? Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were visiting the country every day while he was flogging the people publicly. Yes, I know. I'm aware of these things, what happened in the world. If the Western agendas, if I may use very politely, are being met by those countries or leaders. And we have to pressurize the governments. I think everybody said it very rightly, that you can meet your MP, you can go to your MP, Costa Club can organize 3-4 meetings every now and then. First meeting was held, there were 200 people, then next following meeting in 2010, I think before election, when Ana Gomes came from Portugal, MEP, and she said the election was rigged. What can you do? You can't bomb every country. Britain can't stand up and send their forces to bomb a country. You can raise these issues. I think we have to be realistic as well. I think Amnesty International is doing a great job. They are writing to the MPs, and today we saw at least 2 MPs who came because of Amnesty International. But I have not seen a single MP from your representation. We did write to you. We did ask you, can you go to your MP, write to him, ask him a question, and ask him to attend this meeting? Did you? I think it is very good to ask. She is not here today. We did put this on the notice board, and every MP and Lord knows about this meeting. But I can't push them to come. You can push them. Go and meet them, write to them. Can I conclude the meeting, or do you want to say something before I go back?
Yeah, well, actions. Have we got some we're waiting for?
Write to us what action you think we can do it, and you have to participate in it. I think there can be a long list. Can somebody suggest what action we can do next?
Well, we we did ask Dave to write to Philip Hammond.
I mean, that was all, he said it.
And it was everything that we wanted said was in that letter in terms of pushing the Ethiopian government in the right direction. But we haven't had a response yet. So the first thing to call for really is a response to the letter that we wrote.
We can't force a minister, can we?
Why not?
We can only write.
Remind him.
We can have an ADM. Yes, the action point, please.
Challenge the policies.
Who?
We need to challenge the Ethiopian policies. The fact that we're funding Ethiopia a lot of money and we're not able to go in and investigate is ridiculous, considering that we're paying them the most. That's what we should challenge the policy and at least be able to go in and investigate the mapping on the ground.
Who should do that?
Our government should.
Hmm?
Our government should.
I think it's something you can bring up with your MPs. We have a very large diplomatic mission in Addis Ababa, and to ask them to ask what they're doing to monitor, they should be monitoring, obviously,
Yes, there is a young lady who wants to suggest us some action.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was wondering, since there's quite a close link between human rights abuses and various terrorist laws, and there's also a close correlation between corruption and the possible recruitment to various extremist groups. I was wondering how much of the aid is being used in the Ethiopia case to bring shade to fight corruption in Ethiopia, and how can the aid be used to fight corruption in the future?
I think the first meeting we held, when was it, Kifare?
2010.
June.
Yeah.
There was a proof brought in by Ethiopian living abroad that more than £8 billion has been.
Yes.
I would suggest that perhaps pressure could be put on the Ethiopian ambassador who is here in London. I mean, the Horsham Amnesty Group have let him know what was happening. We've informed him quite fully, but perhaps more information and pressure could be put on him about the kind of things that have been raised in this meeting.
I think you're most welcome, and obviously Jackie and Patricia will write to him about this meeting and the report of this meeting, the MPs who have attended, the other people. And I think
the court case and the allegations against Skinder, which we then forwarded to Patricia and to the International Secretariat, who had not seen all that information before. So it does work to make yourself provocative, to be there, to be seen, and to ask questions, and to go back and do it over and over again, because we had a long time doing this, but we don't give up. Our group haven't given up. There are 4 of them here along with me today, because we think it's important to keep the pressure on. And it doesn't matter if it's only a few of you, but you just have to keep on doing it.
No, my suggestion is that I will discuss it next week in Costa Club as well, which I'm part of, that we should have a big demonstration on the human rights issue in Ethiopia in front of 10 Downing Street, and then hand over the petition to the Prime Minister. He will read it, because once we do it, and I've done it in many other issues, and you must have seen some time picture when people are handing over their petition to 10 Downing Street and Prime Minister. So let's organize something. It is in your hand. As I said, Amnesty International will help you. Third World Solidarity will get you permission to go to that place and have a demonstration. But I can't bring the Ethiopian people to do it.
Victoria, to tell the audience when their demonstrations are.
Oh, well, I expect we'll be having another one in January, because he hasn't replied to our latest letter.
You don't do a regular Saturday every month? Or
No, it's just we are trying to get the answers to the questions, and by we send another letter.
Let me know, and Jackie, I will be there. I
will circulate it, and it's likely to be in the new year.
If the embassy is not responding and the Downing Street is not responding, why we cannot have this case in process? The European Parliament.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Victoria.
I just want to
Professor Victoria.
I just want to paraphrase what a lot of people have said, bringing up the issue of the famine and the hunger, because I think with this anti-terror ideology across the world, it's very easy for states to slip by and say, you know, this is an anti-terrorist measure, etc., etc. It feeds into a logic which is very difficult to break, although, of course, it has to be broken, as you are doing with individual cases. But it's very difficult to sweep under the carpet famine of masses and masses of people, and that is a clear dereliction of duty. And it has been linked to authoritarianism, because the other thing is, you know, it's very easy to naturalize drought. Okay, drought, well, it's Africa, of course, they have drought, they have famine, blah, blah. And it's been proven time and time again that drought happens where there is authoritarianism, and that freedom and democracy are the way forward to having a proper system of communication and distribution of food and resources. So I think maybe highlighting this other aspect of the regime's abuse of human rights, the right to life.
Giving us briefing on sustainable development goals, but their answer is always bureaucracy, civil servant. Once I went to a civil servant meeting, it was the Foreign Office and International Development, and they said, look, Mushtaq, we agree with you that in past human rights was one of our top agenda. Now it is stability and security, and the human rights have slipped back. So I think the Victoria Goddard's point is very important, that we should link somehow this famine, poverty to the extremism and security issues. And Amos, you are the last one, but be brief.
I think we should continue maybe to expose and do advocacy work. But my experience tells me, since 1991, when this government, this UK sponsored the current regime, for the last 25 years, the amount of demonstration and vigil we have done, and I can't tell you, in front of Downing Street and the Foreign Office and the Parliament. So that's why we came up to search for this solidarity. Maybe we can influence not the executive, but the Parliament, so that we could actually pass some kind of legislation to make the government accountable for the money it gets. But I think one thing we have seen recently is defeat has been actually taken to court, to judiciary, because the money they have given have actually displaced people in Gambella, and somehow they have settled it with the person, and that they have withdrawn the money. Although they have given another reason for withdrawing the money, but at least they have stopped financing that kind of project. So what I'm saying is we need a more firmer action, more challenging field, and the legal aspect of it. The government is accountable. I mean, we're not saying don't give money to the poor, to start it, but they need to make the regime accountable, and so some kind of legal aspect we have to see.
Those supporters. So perhaps that's something they could look at.
You can write to him until the cows come home, but I can tell you, all you will be getting is the party line.
We know that
relationship with Ethiopia.
I think we know that from the government, from MPs who are representing the government, you will get the same letter, possibly with few changes in it. But there is no harm in writing to them, because when you write to them, and if you are local constituent, go and try to meet them. That's the second important thing, and I think that MPs do listen to it, they do care about it, but it has to be number of people, not 1, 2 or 3. A few thousands of people do write to them. I've seen about 50 MPs signing a petition against Indian Prime Minister. It is because the Kashmiris community went to them, they lobbied them, they tried for past 68 years. And today they have achieved 50 MPs, including leader of the opposition. So I think if you continue with your struggle and hard work, the result can come out. And I think, let me conclude by thanking everybody. I know it is a very cold evening in the November. I'm really thankful to the speakers who have prepared themselves to speak about individual cases, but these are not individual cases. These are linked with other thousands of prisoners which have been mentioned here. I think we have to continue. We are here to support you and help you, assist you, but as Chairman David Wilson said, as other MPs will understand, they have a limited time, limited resources, and we, Third World Solidarity, is a volunteer group. None of us is paid by anybody, so we are a volunteer group, as is Amnesty International. So I'm thankful.